look in thy glass, and tell the face thou view'st, now is the time that face should form another, whose fresh repair, if now thou not renew'st, thou dost beguile the world, unbless some mother. For where is she, so fair, whose uneared womb disdains the tillage of thy husbandry? Or who is he, so fond will be the tomb of his self-love, to stop posterity? Thou art thy mother's glass, and she in thee calls back the lovely April of her prime. So thou, through windows of thine age, shalt see, despite of wrinkles, this thy golden time. But if thou live, remembered not to be, die single, and thine image dies with thee. That was sonnet number 3. Yeah, I went with a cold open. I think I'm just going to do the sonnets at the beginning now. I'm just going to do them, because I like that better. Man, this sonnet is telling a story from the first two. And it's a scene. It's a scene. It is building, and the choice of language is very much heightened and growing from those previous two sonnets. Look, now, look, these very present, action-y words, are taking these kind of hypothetical discussion topics from previous, I know the previous sonnet, when 40 winters shall besiege thy brow, going into this like super hypothetical, like 40 years from now, let's talk about this, this is like, let's talk about now. And so it was, it's even more immediate. And, it's really compelling as a storytelling device. And it's surprising me, even though I was kind of hoping that by doing the sonnets in like this kind of progressive order, that it would tell a story in that way. It's more reminiscent of like a narrative than I would have guessed. And I'm excited to do the next one. And I'm curious to see if it's going to continue to build or if it's going to shift. Because I'm like, what's going to happen? This is almost a cliffhanger to me. It's like, how can it get more high stakes than this like, now, do it now type of language that he's using. It's also reminiscent of the first sonnet in the way it's structured near the end, which I noticed, which is, I thought, kind of cool. In the first sonnet, near the end, he goes through from fairest creatures we desire increase, talking about like beautiful things, like in these like not talking about the fair youth himself, but talking about hypothetical, out of context, just beautiful things should procreate and create more beautiful things. But then at the end, after going through that kind of whole like pitch, I guess, the end of the sonnet is this kind of like bummer sequence of, if not, be a glutton. Who gives a shit? Like, you go be a fucking asshole and do what you want. Kind of that like stinger at the end in the last two lines. Be a glutton, I think glutton is the word he uses in the first sonnet. And in this one, he does the same thing with but if thou live, remembered not to be, die single, and thine image dies with thee. Like building him up, do this, listen to me, here's some good reasons. And he uses some beautiful, beautiful language. I love the glass mirror, mother, thou art thy mother's glass, thou art thy mother's glass, and she in thee calls back the image, the lovely April of her prime. I love that imagery because, it's got so many layers of meaning with like a mirror is a one-way device versus a window is a two-way device. And so looking through a window and looking through distorted lenses at things. So a parent looking at their child is looking through a distorted window of themselves, right? So you can see elements of themselves in their children, but they're different, right? So that it's not a mirror. It's more of a window into the past in that way. And so starting the sonnet with look in that glass, look in the mirror, look at yourself, and ask yourself, what are you doing with your life? To this kind of really cool imagery, at least in my head, this imagery of like these sequences of windows, of generational windows of like this beautiful, I mean, in Shakespeare's, you know, the fair youth is this beautiful person, and convincing him to continue his line, so he doesn't just die, and so he's not just forgotten, and so the world doesn't miss out on his beauty after he's gone. So I loved that. I really, really loved that. Yeah, I'm excited for next week's sonnet, and I'm curious to see where this one goes. So yeah, this was fun. Sonnet 4 next week. Awesome. Thanks, guys. Leave a comment or something. Have a good Sunday.